My name is Ryan Shear, and we are back with another edition of Small Business Chronicles, which just came your Swiss Army knife of advice, how-tos, deep dives, interesting stories on entrepreneurship. Whether you are an entrepreneur, thinking about being an entrepreneur, I want to lend something on this show that's going to help you. We get to hear a lot about sales funnels, and we get to hear a lot about tactics and stuff. But before you get there, the main thing that you have to reason out is your mindset. You have to be ready to put this job, not a job, but this career and this burden and this adventure all together and wrap it up and throw it over your shoulder and walk off with it. And that is mindset, my friend. That's what it is. And so I invited Mr. Chaz Wolfe on today to come talk to us about that, because he's done it. He's done it all. He's got multiple 7-figure businesses, runs his own thing, has Gathering the Kings podcast, mastermind group, a lot of different variations of that. And we're going to get into that. Thank you so much, Chaz, for coming in today.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, Ryan. It's been a minute though. I gotta be honest, for Mr. Chaz Wolfe, like that type of title has been a minute, thank you for that.
Right. I like to make people feel special when they come over.
Hey, I felt like we were back in maybe 1750 for a second, but that's okay. I'm okay with that time. They were very respectful back then.
Well, we have the beards for it. We have the hair and the beards.
That's right.
For it.
That's right. Yours is a little longer than mine though. You're rocking it over there.
A little bit. It was longer. Like if you go back to one of my first podcasts, I'm like down here, but the more gray I get in it and the more Santa Claus references I get, the more I'm like, let's just cut this shorter and lose some weight and not be Santa Claus. I'm not ready for that yet. Not quite yet.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm plucking out grays every day. I can't do gray quite yet. I'm not old enough for that.
I would look like a mangy dog if I plucked grays. So they live with me. And have you ever seen those guys that try to dye their beards? If any dude is listening that dyes your beard, stop it. Yeah. Just don't.
Don't do it.
It's not a thing. If you get anything out of the show, understand, and you're listening in the privacy of your home or your car, and you're dyeing your beard.
That's right. Don't
take two guys' advice and just stop.
Just don't do it.
Just don't. All right. Not what you plan on talking about, but that's where we went. But mindset. In the intro, I was talking about mindset and how you have to have a mindset. Before I became an entrepreneur, I started a little bit later in life, and I was not ready for the mindset that it took to be where I am today.
Yeah.
So share us a little bit of your story, because I read your story or whatever, and I'm sure you kind of got thrown into a place where mindset.
Oh yeah.
You weren't quite ready for.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we first have to define what is mindset, and mindset is a place where your control is over your thoughts, so that then the actions that you want to accomplish actually come to fruition. And so to reference my story, I grew up single mom family. And so I was put in situations financially, and then also in a limited resource, just because there was only one parent, not necessarily just money, but just limited resources of time and other support around the family. So I was put in situations where I had to figure things out pretty quickly in my life. And so I think the figure it out is a piece of mindset. I think a work ethic and a grit is a piece of mindset. I don't ascribe to the hustle culture. However, it takes a period of time of hustle to get what you're looking for. That's just determination. So again, these things are kind of applying to what you started us off here as mindset. I think there's a bunch that goes into that, but that's kind of where I'll start.
No, and I agree. So let's break that down. The figuring things out. That's kind of where you started. That takes an inner confidence that you'll end up growing, but it used to get me in trouble a little bit. Once you understand that you can figure things out as you go, you might take avenues, or you might get to places that weren't as prosperous as what you might have done. So for my figuring it out in my mindset, there was definitely an adaptation of growing that confidence and then growing that emotional intelligence behind that figuring it out as well.
Yeah, I think that, you're talking about how to make good decisions, really. And the power of the mindset sticks you through the decision that you've made. And so, yeah, you're right. When someone understands how to control their thoughts, and then the next step is to then put their thoughts in towards the actions that they say that they want, you get what you want. And so that can be very powerful, even in the negative sense of what you're referring to. However, if we go back to the filter of what is it that I want? Did you want to make bad choices? Well, I'm going to guess no. Did you want the result of those bad choices? I'm going to guess no. And so for the person listening right now who's maybe already made bad choices, or maybe they're considering what it is that they want out of business or life. That frame or that filter is super important, because if you don't clearly see what it is, then when the time comes for you to make that bad decision, you're not going to have the quote unquote mindset to stick with what you said that you wanted. I can hear people in my mind already, whether the people that I know or people from social media, that say they want to spend time with their family. They say they want to get in shape. They say they want to have a big business. They say they want financial freedom, but their actions do something completely different. Well, what's their problem? Well, the problem is they're not making right decisions. Well, what's the problem under that? Why can't they make right decisions? It's because when the time comes to make those decisions, they're not prepared. They haven't been preparing the
No.
quote unquote mindset to be ready to make those proper decisions.
And you're right. And that first decision, I want to touch on something that you said. That first decision is to do it. You're talking about the people on your social media, and I know people in my networking groups and my friends and
Sure.
and sometimes family. They're big planners. I don't want to say they're big talk, but they're big planners. They could sit around and plan things all day long. Yeah, we're good. They could sit around and plan things all day long. Right. They can plan. I'm going to go do this for my business, but that first real good decision is just to stop planning and do it.
Yeah, there has to come a place where you put action down. And actually, here's what a lot of people that you're describing, because they are talkers, that whether they're actually talking or not, planning, talking, it's all the same thing. They're thinking. We could put thinkers in there as well. They're not doing. They're not doers. And so here's the biggest difference, is that they're most likely afraid, or they're being held back by beliefs. They don't have a belief that if they take action, that it's either going to actually work, or that it's going to work for them, or that they know what they're doing. There's a lot of just uncertainty. And so what we're really talking about, though, is belief. And so using your frame of reference here of just doing it, here's what I have found. I've trained thousands of sales reps over the years. I've built multiple teams in all of my companies. And when I have somebody like this that we're talking to, I'm like, just make the phone call, just take the step, like what Ryan is telling you guys to do. It then, although as scary as it is, it's like, okay, I did it. And then it starts to build a foundation of your belief. Here's what happens. You take a step and then another step, even though it's a little scary, you keep doing it. And then eventually you get a result and you're like, oh, I kind of like that result. And so your confidence rises. You believe that maybe this can actually work. And so what does that help you do? Take another 13 steps and then you get another result. And you're like, ooh, I kind of like this game. I'm winning, which then builds our confidence, builds our belief. And now we have a strong mindset all of a sudden. Well, it's like, well, no, not really. You did it. But then along the way, you realize what was happening inside of you by taking the action.
And yes, you're starting to get to know yourself, your limitations, your experience. It's hard when you're an entrepreneur, because when you go to a job, somebody's there to train you and hand you a manual.
Sure, yeah.
And someone's there to give you experience for it. If you want to go open up a marketing company, or you want to go do a franchise, which will have some manual, but it's not all going to be there. It's that training, that day to day. So you have to find your mindset has to be, I'm ready for this somewhat of an adventure,
Right.
of learning and growing that confidence, because it's not all going to be handed to you.
Yeah. And that personality profile that you're describing, that are planners, thinkers, overthinkers, they don't like that uncertainty and that adventurous spirit that you've referenced. It's tough. It's tough even for the adventurous guys. But as a planner, as somebody who likes detail, I want to know ahead of time. I don't want to be taken off guard. I don't like surprises. Well, welcome to business, because there's a new surprise every day, sometimes every hour. And what I'm trying to do now is not necessarily eliminate surprises. I know that they're going to happen. I'm trying to control, again, we're back to mindset. I'm trying to control my thoughts so that I know whether this thing that's coming at me is in my control or not. If it's in my control, I take action. If it's not, I don't worry about it. It's just that simple. That's mindset.
Yeah, no, and you're correct. And the next part of mindset is you talked a little bit about hustle culture, and I'm going to tie these two things together. Is we feel that, and I've said it in a different podcast, but throwing time at things is not the solution to things.
Not
it's
always
the right decision. Yep. It's the right mindset. You have a calendar set out. This is the way your day is going to go. So if something fails with your business, a client calls you, that happens, and you're going to have to rearrange, prioritize, and figure that thing out. And for the planners and thinkers, that's really hard to do.
Right.
That's really hard. Like, I got an 11 o'clock, I got 10 minutes. I've got to figure out how to utilize this 10 minutes. But on the other side, if you start setting all these expectations for yourself and you don't meet them, you're going to feel like a failure at the end of the day, no matter what you accomplished.
Yeah, and there's a piece there to the mindset that allows for you to feel like a failure, and you're just grading the wrong thing. You're grading immediate
Yes.
results as opposed to the actions. And so you control what you control, and you don't worry about the rest. And so what I can control is not necessarily the result. What I can control are my actions, which are then controlled by my
Yes.
thoughts, which is we're back to mindset again. So if I can control my thoughts, what am I doing on a daily basis to feed my mind and subconscious mind so that way that my thoughts are towards what I want, so that I take proper action, so that I can eventually get the result. But the result might look different, to your point. It might look like me using 10 minutes a little different because something happened today. This podcast could have been canceled, and then now I had an hour block. That what do I do? Well, again, going back to my thoughts towards my actions is like, if this podcast had been canceled and I wasn't on the show with you, I have a list that I created on Sunday of the absolute things that I must do this week in order to move the needle. Some of those are really important. Some of those are just like, this would be nice to get done. And it's not like just like an action list, like, oh, great, I get to kind of check my list. Yes, that's part of it, but no, I'm dialed in. I know exactly what I'm doing this week. That way, if that unforeseen circumstance that we're talking about happens, I don't even worry about it. I'm not concerned about what happened with the podcast or whatever it is that got canceled or something that came about that I couldn't control.
Oh, of course. And the only reason I would have canceled this podcast today was I'm right at this new mission in Starfield, and I don't know. And I didn't want to come to work to do it.
Hard decisions.
Hard decisions. But with hustle culture, what happens, where I was going to tie that in is with the mindset and stuff, is hustle culture means that you don't take any breaks for yourself. That's kind of the backbone of hustle culture.
Yeah.
Is it's all about your job. It's all about your work. It's all about your job. It's all about your work. When we're talking about mindset, you have to take a few minutes for yourself. You have to sit down and take that few minutes for yourself.
Yeah.
Me and Chaz can tell you all the things that you want and need to do technically to get your mindset right. But if you're anxious, if you're tired, if you're overburdened, if you're not organized in that mindset, it's not going to work. It's not going to help. And hustle culture and mindset, I've got to agree with you that hustle culture and the correct mindset to be an entrepreneur do not go hand in hand.
Yeah, there's just a gap here. You have people on one side saying, patience, take a breath, make sure that you take good care of you, self-love, and none of those things are wrong. But it's not the full story. Just like on the other side where people are like, no, dude, you got to go. You got to work 100x harder than everybody else. And if you want to be successful, which is also true, but again, not the full story. And so my day looks like I absolutely have time for me. I have to build my mindset. I use a daily visualization. I specifically spend time in the morning, even throughout the day, doing very, very intentional things for me to build the human, to build my mind, so that then I can go build businesses and or help other clients or whatever it looks like. But if you looked at my calendar, you'd be like, holy geez, man, when do you sleep? Right? Because I know especially with a sales background, now having multiple, successful companies, I know that it's going to take more than I think. Every single time, it's going to take more time, more attention, more money than I think. And so I'm just going to start by doing more than I think. If we can set the target, okay, cool. I'm just going to do more than that because I already know it's going to take more. So why not fill the calendar super tight? But that doesn't mean I squeeze out family time. It doesn't mean that I squeeze out date night. It doesn't mean that I squeeze out the individual time for me, a book that I'm reading or whatever. Time for a hunt. If we're in the fall time, I'm here in Missouri. Guess what? It's hunting season. Okay. Well, so I'm going to be sitting in a tree stand here pretty soon. And I have to be able to do that. And so I got to organize my calendar in a way so that I can do the thing for my mindset, but also make sure that no action goes unrewarded. Every action that you take will be rewarded or not. We are where we are based on the decisions that we made. Like if you can just, as a listener, if you can just sink that all the way in, that you are exactly where you are today based on the decisions that you've made. You might be like, oh, dang, I've made bad decisions. Or you might be like, I feel pretty good about it. Either way, guess what? Right now, boom, draw a line. You now have control over what? Everywhere you're going to go because of all the decisions that you're about to
That's
make.
right. There's two parts of mindset that I kind of want to ask you about, because they're the big ones that changed my life. They're the big ones that made me set and focus. And the two words, and it boils down to two words, and you said one of them. One is accountability, and the other one is consequence. Now, we as an English language, we perceive both of those words as negative.
Sure.
Consequence. You must take accountability for your actions. You must deal with the consequence. They're actually very neutral words if you think of them and break them down. And that if you do something well, take accountability for that. I mean, I account for my actions. And consequence, the results of that accountability.
Yeah.
Those can both be very neutral words and help you navigate your mindset. So instead of me getting up and going, what everything did I do bad? I just examine my decisions in that neutral sense
Yeah.
and go, where's the accountability? Is it positive? Is it negative? And what's the consequences? Are those consequences positive or negative?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a science major or anything, but I mean, maybe it was Newton that said there's a equal or greater reaction for every action, or maybe it's the reverse. Maybe I said it backwards. But the point is that if you do something, whatever it is, to your point, neutral, positive, negative, doesn't matter, there will be a reaction. And the sooner that you can come to that resolution of like, there will be something happening because I chose to do this, or because I chose not to. Just because you chose not to doesn't mean that you didn't make a choice. You definitely made a choice. And that ripple effect, if you will, just drop something in the water, watch the ripple effect. All of those things are now as a consequence or reward, however you see it.
Oh, absolutely. And it was Newton. And I think we all floated around before he found gravity.
Yeah.
That's what I learned. I wasn't very good at science either. So it wasn't, that you said that you came from a background, you had a single mom, you left college.
Yeah.
So let's go into let's go a little bit into your personal, how you got to the mindset and success that you did. And these things that we've kind of wandered around talking about mindset.
Yeah.
And if it seems a little ADHD, there's no single solitary journey through mindset. Everybody's going to find it a little bit different. But what are some of the things where you had the wrong mindset and figured out that was the wrong thing and moved it to a positive mindset?
Yeah. So kind of two questions there. The first one is, the journey. Yes, I grew up single mom family, and I was just in situations early in life that I maybe like that my son won't be in, right? My son,
Yeah.
in fact, having a father, and then, having the life that I've built already won't live the same life. And so that reaction, that consequence, caused me to live and make decisions that maybe a normal 12, 13, 15, 18-year-old wouldn't have to make. I was happy to make them because I'm look back on it now. I'm thankful for it. Thankful for those situations. But some of those as a young kid, it was, if I needed anything, wanted anything, I had to go get it. Like nobody was coming.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, I take that into the current state of where I'm at now. It's like, well, guess what? Nobody's still coming. Nobody.
Right.
As simple as that sounds, it's like, no, like I just got a hold of that early in life. And so that's, again, the mindset of if it's ownership. If no one's coming, then who's here? Well, it's me. And that doesn't mean that I can't have a great relationship with the Lord and have a faith and that I'm not like alone. But the reality of it is that if my life is going to be the way that I desire it, it's up to me. And I can partner with him in that, but no one else here on this earth is going to come do it for me is the point I'm trying to make. And so when you have that fullness of like understanding, then it's like, okay, well, I only have two choices now. I either do or I don't. Some specifics along the way, as far as like having the wrong mindset. I can remember being transactional, right? And so we talked about, I think we hit the recording button here, is like you do this show a lot for shaking hands and you kind of just see what happens. I have a podcast where we've done over 420 episodes in the last 19 months. We put out a new show every single day. It's recorded. I mean, I record multiple times a day. This is my third recording today. I'm on your show now, but I've done 2 episodes for my show today. And it's like, wow, you look at the calendar, you're like, geez, that takes a lot. But what I know is that I need to meet a lot of people. And I'm not like meeting people because of a transaction specifically. So when I was younger, I wanted the transaction. I would have been doing the podcast of being like, well, what am I getting out of it? Like on a weekly basis, what are we getting out of it? What are we getting out of it? What are we getting out of it? Now, being a little bit more mature in the way I see things is that I know that the action I need to take is just shaking hands. And I want to shake a lot of the hands with the right people. And I know things will happen, whether that's real estate deals that I've done with some of my guests, whether some of my guests have joined my peer-to-peer mastermind group, whether some of those people I've flown to and had lunch with because it was that valuable for me to be able to meet this individual and then fly back, right? That would have never happened. I did a family mastermind cruise back in June. We went to Bermuda. We've got another one coming up here in January. We're going to Cancun, where we do marriage, family, business connections all in one vacation. It's an incredible thing that I birthed a couple months ago. And guess what? I looked around the table and I'm like, I know all of you guys from my podcast. This is crazy. And that wasn't like the intention. I didn't, hey, come on to my podcast so I can get to know you and invite you to my family mastermind. Although, guess what? I invited all my podcast guests to the cruise. And several of them said, hey, that sounds like a great idea. Pretty cool.
Let's do it.
You know what I mean?
Right. No. And you go back to the transactional to the long-term plans. That was, I think that's just a sign of maturing, is that you think what's next, because when you come from a background where you struggle with money or you struggle with choice or addiction or whatever, that's your entire life. When's my next paycheck? This hour pays me this does that. So the more you dig out of that, the more you go, you do more of a long-term planning.
Exactly.
That your successes aren't measured by what you succeed in the day. Right. Your successes are measured by when you look back over the week or the month or
10 years.
The time. And like you said, just in 10 years, if you take a look back, was I successful yesterday? Maybe not. But have I been successful for the last 2 years, last 3 years, last 5 years? It's no longer that day to day, like a mouse scurrying for cheese. You're building something. You're experiencing now the growth and the time and energy that you've put into it.
Yeah, you're a marketing guy, so you know Alex Hormozy, and he talks about time horizons, and I just love the mindset around time horizons and proper decision making, because we were just talking about YouTube before we hit the record button. He said when he went to his YouTube agency, he said, okay, look, here's what I want to do. And I fully understand it's going to take us 10 years. Like, I want to see my videos like getting more views and getting traction. Cool. But like, I know that in 10 years, it's going to be what I want. And the YouTube marketing agency was like, I'm sorry, what? You're giving us a 10-year run ramp here, not 90 days like every other entrepreneur. And then after 30 days, they're like, I'm not getting any results, man. It's because, we've got people who, want it today. I got drivers in some of my business that, hey, do we get paid today? Like they want cash every day. It's like, bro, what kind of life are you living where you can't organize this more than a day? And you can say the same thing for a week or a month or a year. And it's like, dude, you got to start stretching out that timeline, making decisions around actions that will have a result over this course of 6 months, 6 years, 60 years. I'm trying to build something that my grandkids are going to be able to be a part of,
Yeah. No. And I like that theory, because that's what I'm doing as well, is it's no longer when I land an account, and not that you shouldn't celebrate the accounts that you land, but when I land an account, it's like adding to a collection.
Right.
It used to be the greatest thing in the world. Go out, have drinks. Hey, I got another account. Now it's like, okay, this is working. If it takes me 10 years, if it takes me just like with the YouTube agency, I just launched my YouTube. Go subscribe. I'll put the button around here somewhere. Go subscribe. I got 7 like the audio podcast is doing well, but on YouTube, I got like 7 followers and a couple hundred views. I'm ecstatic because it's been up for 9 days. And that's some good numbers. Now, if I'm still there in 10 years, I've done something wrong, of course, but your success isn't your destination. Your success is the things that you do to get to that destination. And that changes. Like you said, transactional, your driver wanting to get paid today, his success is put money in his hand. My success is 10 years from now, I get to babble in a microphone. I'm doing public speaking. My kids are running my marketing company. Me and my wife are in Puerto Rico with our toes in the sand, whatever. That's my success. And that's my journey now.
Yeah. And the moments that it's going to take for you to get there are going to be as, if not more special than the actual toes in the sand. Because, when you build something, like I have, especially when it's around passive income, I have, multiple business and real estate assets where, and my kids know, like, they know that I choose to come to work. Like, I don't have to be on this podcast right now. I didn't have to build my own podcast.
Yeah.
I have enough residual passive income that I could just chill. I could be dad 100% of the time. And some people might be
Yeah.
hearing that going, well, you're a bad dad for not doing that. It's like, well, no, I'm built differently than that. And that's okay. I know who
Yeah.
I am. I'm a builder. My kids also know that. And I'm building now something that gets to be, received by them. And I get to be part of the next generation and then the next generation after that, because that's what I believe the Bible says I should do.
You had mentioned something in one of the videos that I was watching, is that I feel I'm built a little bit differently too, because in the About You video that I was watching, you said, "Be the king that you always were meant to be."
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if you feel that it's a gender thing, if it's a men or a personality thing,
Love that.
but I'm right there with you, is that I've got enough going on. I don't need to take on any more projects. I'm not exactly where you're at to where I can just quit doing everything and go play video games, but my kids are grown, so that's what I would do
Yeah.
now. But I don't have to take on these projects. I don't have to throw music festivals. I don't have to do
Right.
things with the local chamber. I don't have to go to fundraisers. But I keep doing every one of these because I don't feel I'm done.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
good.
feel like I feel there's a next step. I feel there's a next thing.
Yeah.
I could literally just lay down and watch TV all day and my life be contented for the rest of it. But I'm right there with you of just, I feel that when I heard that in the video, I felt it, that there's way more, and you just have to want to do that. And to kind of tie that back into mindset,
Yeah.
is that if you don't have that mindset, that's the exact mindset you have to have as a businessman and an entrepreneur, is that you have to want more.
Yeah.
You have to want, there's always going to be things that happen. There's always going to be things that blow up in your face. There's always going to be traumas that happen with your business, setbacks, employees. You'll cause some of them. Some of them will be from the sky.
Right.
That's just the way that it is. But if you don't have that mindset of, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to figure out how to get past this, and I'm going to figure out how to grow, you probably should just go back to work for somebody else.
Yeah. The pieces there that you've given are really powerful, because there are in my opinion, two different types of a desire for entrepreneurs. One is to create maybe a lifestyle business. The one that you're referencing for both of us is that it doesn't matter how great the quote unquote maybe lifestyle got. We are builders. And so that phrase, "be the king you've always been designed to be," speaks to the person, whether they are a king yet on the outside or not. And what is a king? Like you said, it's not masculine, it's mindset more than anything. We have unbelievable entrepreneurs in our peer-to-peer mastermind group that run multiple $1 million companies that are female. And I'll tell you what, the queens, they bring some heat. Okay. So here's the deal.
Absolutely.
If we're talking about it being mindset more than feminine or masculine, okay, well, what is it then? It's this desire for more. However, there's a place here along the way, because you can't always just want more, right? Because now I'm striving. And so the difference between striving and thriving is the ability to be grateful. And so we use a phrase inside of Gathering the Kings called grateful but not done. And here's the word picture for you. Again, I told you I'm a big hunter. Typically, I'm hunting elk right now in September. I'm not this year, unfortunately, but that's all right. But when you're elk hunting, you got a 40-pound pack. You're miles into the wilderness. We're on day 7, and we haven't seen an elk. But boom, we hear some. You never see them until you're right up on them, but you can hear them. And you're like, okay, we're going after them. And we go up the hill, and we're like, the top's right there. And so we go up there, and it's like all this work to get just right there. And we think it's the top, and they went over, and you realize it's not the top. It's a false top. And if you've ever been in the mountains, they happen frequently. It's getting a little bit frustrating. But when you finally realize that this is just part of it, that there's always going to be a false top, you don't get frustrated by it. You just realize that there's just another level you got to go to, another bench. But in that bench right there, you take a second, you look out, and you're like, whoa, look at the view, man. I know we didn't get them yet. We're a little frustrated that we're not at the top, but like, dude, look at that. Where else do you get a view like this? You smell the pine. Wow. Grateful. But we're not done. Let's go. And you go back up the mountain right after the elk. And so for certain business owners like you who heard that and are like, oh, dude, yeah, it doesn't matter if I was 70, if I had billions, right? Elon Musk has billions, hundreds of billions, but he's not done. He's grateful, but he's not done,
No.
right? There are certain entrepreneurs who want to build a lifestyle business who they can, sit in Puerto Rico and put their toes in the sand always. And they want to run it from a laptop 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, like Tim Ferriss. Okay, cool. That's not me. I'd be bored out of my mind. I'm a builder. And I want to then, from the building perspective, is then now it's influence, right? Think about a king. It's like, okay, there are other people, and not just my immediate family, my wife and my kids. Yes, that's super important, but it starts there. But now what else? Like, all these other people in the kingdom are counting on me. The king goes, what happens? Well, the whole kingdom falls. There's a lot of weight in that.
Oh yeah. No, and like I said, that resonated because a lot of times I get put, I'm the decision maker at home, and then there's a lot of weight on me about my business,
Right.
about where I'm at, the things I have to do. I always said I was a sculptor.
Love that.
Sculptor builder, I think they're kind of the same thing, you
Yeah.
know. Come from a so I used to do like shoot documentary movies and do whatever, and then I went then graphic design, video editing, whether or clay, all of those, you're building something, you're sculpting something.
Yeah.
You have a vision and you're manipulating in a positive way things around you to align to that vision that you want to do. So I just wanted to tell you that before we hop off of here, that resonated hard.
Appreciate that, man.
Uh, uh,
You're not the only
there.
one.
So I see that. I see that. So Chaz, we're getting close to time here. Man, it's been such a good conversation. Tell us a little bit about how to get a hold of you, where to contact you. If anybody wants to hear more of Chaz and see more of Chaz Wolfe, how do we find that?
Yeah, super easy on social media. YouTube, Gathering the Kings. You can take a look at our podcast there. We've got videos of our events and stuff as well. I'm on, social, whether it be Instagram or Facebook. You can just go Gathering the Kings or Chaz Wolfe. And here's the reality. Here's the call out to the listener: is that if you're a business owner, we've got levels for the guys that are just getting started or the ladies getting started, all the way up to we've got 300+ million-dollar business owners. So there is a table and a conversation happening for you inside of Gathering the Kings. And so go to gatheringthekings.com and see if maybe what we're up to is something that you might be drawn to.
Absolutely, man. If you want to see more, I'll put all that in the show notes up here on the screen. So make it really easy for you to get Chaz. Chaz, once again, thank you so much for coming by my show and taking your time out, because we know you didn't have to, and to come and talk to us about mindset. Because go look at chazwolfe.com. You can see the successes, understand he knows exactly what he's talking about. So thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, it was an honor and a pleasure. I appreciate the invite as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.